Hey guys, why you should, and I know I'm a day late. I just really wanted to think about what I wanted to say, and I also spent yesterday with a friend, so I just didn't end up recording anything. What I wanted to talk about today is the current situation where I live, which is Israel. It's a pretty charged, crappy subject to talk about, but I feel the need to talk about it because it's kind of problematic and it's important, and this is where I live right now, and this is what's actually happening. And I think I'll recap. It's going to be probably a little bit of a longer video. I'm going to recap the events that caused this situation right now, which is pretty much war. I'm at war. We're at war with Hamas. The IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, are at war with Hamas. And I live in a warring country, which sounds kind of ridiculous, but it's true. So, what are the events that caused this to occur in the last couple of weeks? A couple of young boys, when I say young boys, I mean about 17 years of age, the average, I believe that was. And I should probably say that everything I'm going to say right now is how I understand it and what I know. There might be inaccuracies, but the general gist of what I'm going to say is true. And these three young boys were hitchhiking, which in the area where they live is actually pretty common. I don't think that hitchhiking is smart at all, especially in our country, but let's put that aside for a second. And they took a hitchhike. They were picked up by three, guess you gotta call them terrorists, or very bad men, and from Hamas, or at least Hamas took credit for it. I'm not entirely sure. And they were kidnapped and murdered. And it took the IDF plus volunteers about 2 weeks, or was it 10 days, to find the bodies. And that clearly brought out quite a lot of hate. And today it's very easy to show your hate on social networks and the like. And the calls came out, the calls that we haven't heard in quite a long time. The calls not to kill, not to deal with the problem, not to kill all the terrorists or kill all the Palestinian extremists. No, the calls were to kill all the Arabs. And some Israeli extremists, you know, what hate does best is begat more hate and create more hate. And the calls for revenge came out, and Israeli extremists, crazy people, murdered an Arab boy. And so that created even more hate within the Arab community, rightfully so. Rightfully so, all of this hate, but on the other hand, it's hate and revenge, and it's not going to lead anywhere good. And Hamas decided, all right, you killed one of us. Only we're allowed to kill you. So if you did that, what we're going to do is use up all of the ammunition that we've been accumulating, and they have, because that's what they do. Hamas's goal is to kill each and every one of us, each and every person living in Israel, all the Israelis, all the Jews. No one should be here that isn't Arab, that isn't Palestinian, that isn't Muslim like them. That is what they believe. And they started shooting us with rockets or missiles. Let's not go into the difference between a rocket and a missile, because I'm not sure of the definition. Doesn't matter. They started shooting us with all of the rockets in the last 3 or so days, last couple of days where this actually started. They've been shooting us with hundreds of rockets into Israeli cities from the Gaza Strip. And they grammar. They showed us that they have the capability of actually shooting rockets quite far. We previously did not know what's the distance that they're capable of. We knew that about 20, 30, maybe even 40 and 50 kilometers from the Gaza Strip, they're capable of shooting rockets from, but they have showed in the last couple of days that they can actually reach very far, up to 120 kilometers, which is quite surprising. And my city, I'm actually pretty safe. I'm pretty far away, but I experienced my first code red. And what code red means is basically alarms go off in the cities. Very, very loud, very, very strong alarms go off in the city. And according to how far you are from the Gaza Strip, you have a certain amount of time to reach your safe room. Most apartments, most houses in Israel have a safe room, which is basically an enforced room with a giant metal door and a metal hatch on the window. There's one window and there's a metal hatch on it that you could close. And you're supposed to go in that room and wait there for about 10 minutes. And then you could come out unless there's clearly any additional alarms. But you have, I have 2 minutes. It depends on how far you are from the Gaza Strip. Some people have, if you're very close, it's immediate. That's what it says, immediate. So essentially, you're supposed to teleport to the safe room. Some people have 30 seconds, a minute and a half. I have 2 minutes. And to get to the safe room, but basically, you hear an alarm, you go. You run, you go to the safe room, to any safe room. If you are just coming into a building, just go into the nearest building and come up. It's usually the middle of the building. It's the staircase. The staircase is usually found in the most inner part of the building, and it is actually quite enforced. There's a lot of metal there or something. I don't know, but it's the most structurally sound part. You should go in there, not the ground floor, second, third floor, if the building is pretty high, and wait there for 10 minutes until you can come out. And I pretty much experienced it was the first time that in my city there was code red, which was pretty scary to think about it. And to be very clear, I am in a really, really safe place. I'm very, very safe here. I do not actually get bombarded with many missiles. I only had one alarm ever. There are cities that are closer to the Gaza Strip, big cities, big settlements all around Israel, basically, that live with hundreds of rockets falling at them every day right now. And that's horrible. Luckily, we're so far, as far as I know, you leave the news for 10 minutes, you're probably not out up to date. But we're pretty safe. There's been no casualties, I think, so far. And not a lot of property damage as well. We actually have Iron Dome. Not sure if you've heard of it, but that's what it's called. I believe the direct translation to English is Iron Dome, which is a missile defense system. Sounds something out of a game, but it's an actual real thing that works quite well. According to the last thing that I've heard, which again could be completely outdated, 90% success rate in shooting down missiles that would have hit, property and would endanger people, really. Most missiles just hit random open areas and don't actually cause any damage, but yeah, 90% is pretty good. 6 out of hundreds, only 6 actually hit. Iron Dome didn't intercept them. Again, that was this is data from like yesterday, so it's probably not completely true. And this is all, I wanted to call this video "Why You Shouldn't Live in Israel," but it's not really specifically Israel. It's not that. It's the situation here. It's the hate. It's the extremism. And it's the fact that you should really try and avoid these things. You'll find extremists and people who want to enforce their beliefs on other people anywhere in the world, but where it's so adamant and so strong, and in Israel it is, I don't really want to live here, and I will move out, and hopefully in the next year or so. All this hate, all of it is so incredibly wrong. For whatever reasons, if you think someone else should die, if you want to murder someone else because of their, if you think because of their beliefs or religious beliefs, you know, and what they think or their lifestyle, that's just wrong. That's just so wrong. And as long as you don't do anything about it, that's okay. I mean, if you don't think that homosexuals should, you know, be together, and you think that's a sin and that's wrong because of your religious beliefs, that's fine. As long as you don't do anything about it. As long as you know, you could express your opinion, that's fine. But don't enforce it. Because that's your opinion. If you are an extremist and you do horrible things, religious fanatics, that's just, it's horrible. And I don't want to live in an area where it affects me every day. And again, I'm very safe where I am, but it's always at the back of your head, and the possibility is there. You know, a missile could hit me. It could happen. It's astronomically, you know, the chances it's not going to happen probably, but it could, in a way that's just mind-boggling. You know, it's hard to think about it, and it's a really crappy situation. And I don't want to live here because of it. So yeah, thanks for hanging on with me for 12 minutes. Sorry for being kind of slow today. It's pretty crappy subject to talk about, and it's kind of hard to arrange your thoughts around it. So sorry about that. Thank you for listening, though. I hope you're well. I hope I'll be well. And see you guys next time.